Good afternoon, and welcome back to United TV. And the question for today's stream is: if Man United sign SANDER or sign Robinson, is this a panic move by the club? Just quickly, a bit of news: Man United actually did sign a player recently. OROZCO was, I think this was like, here we go, about a year ago. So OROZCO is always on the cards. They just had to wait for him to reach a certain age. So all I'm going to say is that OROZCO is signed. Some people are saying it's an exciting signing. 1 million, I think it's like actually 1 million dollars or 1 million euros. I don't think it's a lot of money. It's probably going to be, I'll just say this, it might be in line, similar price to Aiden Heaven, but at this point in time, he's going to go into the academy. I don't know what to expect. So I think it potentially could be a decent signing, but we don't know too much about him. So I'm not going to get overexcited. But I think Orozco signing, like Aiden Heaven, etc., etc., I think these are quite good deals the club are doing. But I think we're going to focus today on what Man United are doing in the first team, and we're going to look at Sander. We're going to look at Robinson as obvious like options for Man United, and the question is going to be like Man United. This is like a story that was talked about by Ben Jacobs recently, and it is quite vague. But then again, a lot of Man United news is quite vague at the moment. And Sander is an opportunity. I'm not sure how much he's going to cost, but obviously he's going to be a lot cheaper than some of the top targets we've been looking at. And Man United have been looking at their options, but as we know, they have not made any offers on the other options. And the other question mark over in terms of going for different left backs, then this is one where I saw this as I was setting the stream up. And if Man United sign Robinson, I mean, there's still a long way to go in terms of like what Man United are looking to do, and there's actually the Racing Santander left back as well. If Man United sign Robinson this window, then this is probably the first source I've seen it, and they're saying this again. I'm not going to say this is true because this is just a source that's probably guessing, and we don't know if there's any truth behind it. But they're saying Man United are moving for Robinson, so again, we'll have to see whether that's going to happen. But I thought this could be a general stream where if you got some thoughts on what's happening in the window, whether you're frustrated that things don't seem to be going as quickly as you like, or maybe my view was I was looking at some of the targets, thinking there's some difficult targets, but I thought given the amount of midfield players available, I'm surprised Man United haven't got the deals done a bit quicker. But again, this is an opportunity for you to express your feelings whether is it a panic buy or is it actually sensible business. Like if you can get Robinson for I think it would be like maybe 30 35 million possibly, which might seem a bit expensive given his age, but again, if you're going to get Lewis Hall, so much money coming into Newcastle this window, then Newcastle can pretty much charge whatever they want, and Man United will. We haven't got any sort of anything over Newcastle, unfortunately. So let me go through a few of the comments as well, and I'll try and go through as many comments as possible. Big up to you, Fozzy TV, my man. How are you doing? It's been a while since I saw you. So let me just get the live chat on the screen as well. So now, big up to you, Fozzy. I think last time I spoke to you, we probably signed about one player, and I think a month later we've signed two players. In terms of, I'm only counting first team players as signings. I know Man United are doing a bit of work regarding like getting players in for the academy. But I think Man United fans generally, if we're counting signings, we've got Tillemans, we've got Santos. I mean, Darlow is a backup goalkeeper. I can't remember how old he is, but he's like 35 plus, isn't he? So these are not the sort of signings that we talk about in terms of what's going to give Carrick the options in terms of trying to manage Champions League football and Premier League football. I mean, we want Carrick to do the best possible, and I think giving him more options is what we need. So I think Santos and Tielemans are decent players, but effectively they're supposed to be replacing Casemiro, Agate, and I think Toby Collier will be left allowed to leave as well. So it doesn't feel like we've got extra depth, in my opinion. That's where I'm going at the moment. Big up to you, Sky, as well. Good to see you in the chat. Big up to you, Stu, in the chat, and Gray. So quite a lot of legends in the chat. So I'll go through a few of the comments and I say, should we squash the Robinson rumours? At the moment, I genuinely have no idea if this is just internet speculation at all. And Niche Fan says Hall and Scott are available. We've got the money, spend it. I think in terms of like the players you mentioned there, I think I would say if you look at Lewis Hall and Alex Scott, they could be maybe the best two options left on the market that are going to be options for Manchester United. And if you think about it, Manchester United's transfer window this season, every time we look at it, almost every single deal, apart from OROZCO, and I said this yesterday as well, Man United's deals have been really kind of transparent about what their plan is. They've gone for nothing but Premier League players. Tillemans, Santos, even the player from Spurs from the academy, and the backup goalkeeper we got from Leeds. Everything has been like Premier League experienced, and I don't know whether that's a coincidence, but it feels like it isn't. Like if you look at the probably two of the highest signings we made last season, and with Mbeumo and Cunha, I think it's definitely a plan to go in the Premier League. I don't really mind it, but I think you need to make sure you try and get the best players from other leagues as well. But we're looking at it this way and saying, yeah, there is time. Fozzie says there's still time to sign players. There is time, Fozzie. There is, but this is Manchester United, and I think a lot of us probably the same sort of patterning is going over and over again. Where Man United transfer window opens, we seem to do something quickly, and we got Santos done relatively quickly. I think actually we thought that Anderson was going to be the first deal, but that fell through for a medical. But I think Man United usually labour this stage of the transfer window where not much happens. And I know that other clubs seem to be doing more and more deals. It's just a bit annoying, isn't it? Um, United So Die says they want Premier League proven, but yet not willing to spend the money. And this is probably the biggest issue as well. That if you want to buy players from the Premier League, you're buying from teams that have got more money. You're going to have to pay more. It's just simple economics. If Man United want to get cheap options, then they can look in the French league. And Brentford got a decent option. I don't know how much they actually paid for Sangar, but they got a good player from Lens. I don't know how much he actually ended up costing. I think it might have been undisclosed, but it was supposed to be a record fee for Brentford. But in terms of Man United, it would be an average fee. It'd be probably like 45 to million max. Like so, it wouldn't have been as much as the players were going to spend as well. Um, I'll say so. I'm quite reluctant to comment on like the fan base as a whole because I think everybody has a different view. Al, but you're saying does no one in the fan base understand that buying older players destroys our balance sheets, and say it's not a fluke that we have the highest net transfer spend over a decade, yet we're nothing. And I think I would say a lot of fans don't really care how much players cost. I can see your point in terms of like if you're going to be spending a lot of money on older players, yeah, it's not sustainable long term, is it? I think the problem is Man United have got a very dysfunctional squad. If you're going to bring in loads and loads of younger players, you're going to have some experience. And unfortunately, the experienced players are the ones leaving Man United. So Casemiro left a big gap in terms of what experience we had. You could make an argument and say Tillemans as like a one-off signing, like 35 million, a lot of experience, a lot of European experience. It's not a bad deal. And in terms of like the next couple of years, Tielemans could be a very good signing. If you couple that with Santos is a player that's going to be better for the future, then it does make sense. I think a lot of Man United fans are looking at it thinking, like Tielemans fine, Santos fine, but we're just kind of looking at it and going, right, where's the elite level quality that we're hoping to get? So I don't think anybody thought we're going to go and get too many. I don't think people thought we are going to get Anderson. But you look at Matheus Fernandes, you look at Alex Scott as being like an option still on the table, and you look at other players that are moving different clubs. Like, how can we have a situation where Spurs are spending more money than Man United and actually buying players that we thought Man United could get, but apparently we can't afford? So I think the frustration with this hour is that there's a lot of things we should be doing and I think whatever happens at the moment, I did think at the start of the window, I was being optimistic. And I did look at it and go, right, there's a lot of midfield players we could sign. We could pick any two out of about 10, and I think fans would be happy. And as it is, at the moment, I think if we look at SANDER, I think people will find reasons not to like that deal. If we look at Robinson, people will find reasons not to like that deal. But these are definitely two players that a couple of years ago, I think most Man United fans would say good options, get them in. And I think what it is was that if Man United signed SANDER plus like a couple more exciting options, people would be happy. And it's the same with like Tielemans. If Tielemans came in with another couple of options that were maybe more exciting options, people would be happy. But I think overall, people are looking at it thinking, like, is this going to be transforming like the Man United squad? I'm not sure. That's the issue. It's going to be. Yeah, no, I agree. Al, I agree. I agree. That's what that's what I was saying. A one-off. Tielemans is a one-off. But when you factor in Sanderberg, Ollie Watkins, Robinson, like I don't think Ollie Watkins would be on the table. But we were led to believe only like a month ago, but Man United were not looking at players beyond the age of about 26, 27. It seemed. And if we're looking at the transfers, every time we were guessing, like last season, who we'd sign, we just didn't go for older players. Like we could have got Welbeck, we could have gone for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who had a good season, but in the end, we seem to be looking at younger and younger players. And now it seems to be like we've almost like whatever's in the water at Chelsea, Man United had a sip because we're looking at it going actually, and is the reason going to be that it's financially driven? Because I think from a Man United perspective, as a fan, I want to see Man United get the best possible players in. And I just look at these and go, are these just cheap options because the better options cost too much money? And if there is an underlying problem with the financial situation at Man United, should we be concerned? Because it seems crazy that we've just got Champions League football. The money's going to be coming in. Like, why are we not spending on certain players we actually need? So let me go through a few because I think there are a few outliers where you can get someone like San Lamens who didn't cost a lot of money and was a really good player. But I think it's difficult to try and base. You can't do that with every single signing. It's going to be very very difficult as well. So again, get your comments in and we'll go through that. If you want to vote on whether these are panic signings at the moment, quite a high percentage of people think that this is a panic kind of window. RK says it's all Glazer PR garbage. They don't want to spend money, but want a new stadium. And so the Glazers are con artists. I mean, I'm not going to say anything positive about the Glazers. I never have done. And with Ineos, I think they're almost like being categorized as the same, but they they don't have the final say, which is a bit annoying. Volp says winging it window. Do you think actually, like last year, Man United's transfer window, apart from not getting a midfielder, it looked like it went pretty well. Like Cunha agreed pretty quickly, and Bremo comes out, says he wants Manchester United or he's going to stay at Brentford. And then Sesko turns down a better offer from Newcastle, says he wants Manchester United, and everything looks pretty good. I wonder whether the fact that Sesko chose Man United over Newcastle and the fact that Mbeumo wanted Manchester United, I don't know if that's actually caused a problem this season where we go into the transfer window and I don't know whether Man United are thinking, actually, right, we'll just wait for players to say they want us and that will give us the power to negotiate better deals and not overspend. And the fact is, most football players are not choosing one club based on a club they might have supported, particularly when you're looking at players that probably already played for a few different clubs. They're not going to be choosing Manchester United because Man United is Man United. They're going to be looking at what's the best financial deal for them or which teams are in line to try and win a title. If you look at Man United, if we tried to get Bruno Guimaraes, could we have got this deal done? Like Bruno Guimaraes, he's been at Newcastle for a few years. He's pretty much was like their favourite player. He left to win trophies. Is he going to choose Man United or is he going to choose the team that has just won the Premier League? And that's the difficulty we got. Players are not going to come out and say we want to sign, want to join Man United. Manchester United are going to have to effectively get these players in the same way we got Roy Keane. And you've got to go, right, here's the best offer on the table. You've got to be bold, try and get them in like an Andy Cole signing. It's going to cost more than other teams are prepared to pay. But if anything, Spurs have done exactly that. Man United, we negotiated with Matheus Fernandes for, I think, about 6 weeks. We were way ahead in the deal. We were the only team talking to him for a while. Spurs came in last minute, and I was joking at the time, thinking, right, Spurs are going to come in, Man United will close the deal. And then Spurs just put the offer on the table that West Ham wanted, and Matheus Fernandes took the cash. And we can be disappointed, but this happens. Like Somerville has gone to the Saudi Pro League because he wants the cash, and it happens like time after time. And I think if Man United only sign players that want Man United, then effectively we're going to have to wait a year for Believer to recover from his ankle injury because he's not going to move this window, and we're going to end up with like very few players to choose from. That'll be the annoying thing. So let me go through a few of the comments. Say unpopular opinion. Say Bruno. I think Bruno Guimaraes for me is he's a good player, but I think Bruno Guimaraes would have been. He suits Arsenal because Arsenal are already there. Arsenal want to win a Premier League title next season and maybe the year after. That's kind of like they got a window to try and win trophies now. But no, I don't. I don't think it's an unpopular opinion, Al. I think if Man United sign Bruno Guimaraes, he's a really good player and he would be effective in the short term. But I would say it wouldn't have been the best use of £75 million. Like if Man United took that £75 million and went for Boadi, I would actually say Bruno Guimaraes versus Boadi, Brazil versus Morocco. I thought Boadi actually made Bruno Guimaraes and Casemiro look a bit underpaced in that match. So I think that it's not an unpopular opinion in my mind. I think Boadi was a much better use of the money. But again, I think he might still be available. And yeah, so if we did go for someone like a Boadi, for me, that would be a really good option, really sensible move. I think what we saw in the World Cup. I know it's only one-off matches, but we saw him versus Bruno Guimaraes and versus Casemiro, and he looked a lot better than them. So no, I don't think that's unpopular. It might be with other people, but I think it's a sensible option. I would say at this point in time, I would probably be very wary of players from Brighton. Like, it's not the first player that's come from Brighton with some injury issues as well. And no, I think we should be looking beyond that one as well. Be up to you, Nikki, in the chat. So I'll try and get through a few people's comments. If you got some thoughts on what we're seeing regarding the transfer window, please let me know. I was to say that I was trying to do like a 12:30 stream today because I thought I'll just try and do the stream a bit earlier. And looking for news, it's like a barren wilderness out there. So one thing Man United have done is they have locked the door, I think, on leaks. But in terms of like options for left back, this is something I think Man United are serious about doing. Whether it's Robinson, I would say I think Hall is going to be the first choice, but I don't think Man United are going to spend the amount of money required. And this is another story which we talked about yesterday, I think, or the day before. And the left back that helped Santander get promoted to the top Spanish league and to the La Liga last season. Apparently, there's a release clause of 13.7 million to try and get Salinas. So there is a bit of a possibility that maybe there's something in this story. But apparently, according to a couple of journalists and a couple of newspapers, that Barcelona have offered £5 million for this player, but Santander are pretty much saying they're not going to let him go unless the release clause is met. So 13.7 million. For me, I think he's 18 years old, so it's quite a young signing. It would be like it's obviously going to be a decent player, but Barcelona are looking to try and get him quite cheap. I think for Man United that this is the sort of player. If Man United bought this sort of player, I think this is replacing Harry and Mass. I don't think it's going to be walking to the first team at Manchester United. So this is one for the future. So I think if Man United go for a cheap deal, I think the smart money in terms of like if you're going to guess who they're going to go for, I think Robinson is like a an option that might happen. And I think that's why some aggregator accounts on Twitter are pretty much saying it's going to happen because they're just guessing and they think Robinson, okay, that makes sense. Man United look for a cheaper deal. Yeah, we'll go for him. But I'll put the Berg there. So if you got some thoughts on any of these sort of things, then let me know. Big up to you, Gaz. Do I think Ineos will surprise us with some amazing signings? Good question, Al. I'll tell you what, Al, it would be one hell of a surprise, wouldn't it? So it would be a big plot twist in this transfer window if we did go for say a major amazing signing. What would constitute an amazing signing? Because like for me, I've always said like Man United need to try and fix midfield. So I would say for me, if Man United said, look, we've got Bawadi, I would say that's an amazing signing. Someone that is going to be now still a teenager, but able to play at the highest level in the World Cup. I would say that would be Yeah, that would be a surprise, wouldn't it? It would be a hell of a surprise, Al. It'd be a nice surprise, but it would be a surprise. But if I had to guess, I'd probably say no. Don't expect to be excited, Al. Expect to be disappointed, and then maybe you won't be too disappointed if nothing materializes. I'm fully expecting a lot of excuses towards the end of the window regarding Man United offered blah blah blah, but they just didn't get the deal done in time or something. There's going to be some sort of excuse, I'd imagine. Um, Ryan says, "I wish we had a plan. We all seem to be making up as we go along." Do you know the thing is? Does anybody think Man United actually had a transfer plan this season? Do you remember when we had all the stories about Man United had got the short list and it was like pictures of too many and I'm trying to think Elliot Anderson and Tonali. And when we looked at that list, I thought, okay, the most likely deals are going to be Tonali and Matheus Fernandes. And I thought at the time maybe Anderson was going to be a done deal. So I thought that's going to be our window. And I was kind of interested about Matheus Fernandes. To be honest, I think we could probably replace Matheus Fernandes with Santos as like an up and coming player that looks like he's got a lot of potential. And I think you replaced Anderson with Tillemans, who again is going to bring some experience. I think the frustrating thing is that where's the like the higher quality midfielder? Like at the moment, we've kind of gone almost like for like, two players out, two players in. Where's going to be the player that suddenly we start looking at in terms of like a Buwadi or at the moment, the two credible options for Man United to get a third midfielder, they're both going to be quite expensive. But I think Buwadi or um, maybe Alex Scott is the only options left. Like any other player apart from those is going to feel a little bit like yeah, we haven't got we haven't got our top targets. And Wizard Better says Fulham bought in 21-year-old Cesar and Palacios from Real Madrid to replace Lukic, and they're chasing Southampton's 22-year-old defensive midfielder Shay Charles to replace Sander Berg. Are we? Do you think this is there is something in this that Man United maybe we are funding teams like replacing their players, and we saw this with like Neves and Agate. The only time we didn't do it last year, like last year's transfer window, I'll say this: last year's transfer window was something of an anomaly because Man United could quite easily have bought Aston Villa's goalkeeper and funded them moving for Sen Lamens. So we didn't do that, and that's about the first time we haven't done one of these. But in terms of this one, like Fulham will identify new players, and are Fulham going to be making a nice profit on some of these players? That I'm not sure how much they would be looking for the players, but if we're looking at paying 35 million for Robinson, I, yeah, I mean, if we only did one of those deals, but like I said earlier in the stream, if Man United do a Tielemans deal and we do a Robinson deal, suddenly we're starting to throw significant money at players that will only be at the club for a limited amount of time. So I don't know. Shay Charles was rumored to be one of the cheaper options available, and a lot of fans said if we're going to go for someone like Sanderberg, maybe Shay Charles is a better option. And I think the age difference is quite apparent. But also, I think Man United are like for me. If you once you got Tielemans in, do we need to get someone like Sanderberg in? Like I don't think it's the best option. United Dice says they waffle about they have plans, but all they do is talk. So yeah, I don't honestly I don't know. If there was a plan, then it must have just fallen apart as soon as the transfer window opened. Does the new midfielder need to be able to play with Mainu or replace Mainu, says Al. And you're saying Mainu's not good defensively, so his partner has to be good at covering ground. This is a difficult question, isn't it? I think with Santos and Tielemans, now we got a completely different setup in terms of like there's two new players there. Are we going to see? Are we going to see Mainu actually being a starting player next season? Like maybe with Santos, Santos has come not to be a backup. Santos has come to try and play. I'm not surprised that in pre-season Santos has looked very good. Like obviously he's a technically good player. He looks like he's got ambition. I mean, he's been captain of a couple of age levels in the Brazil national team. I think Santos is going to be a Brazil international pretty soon. and maybe with a different manager, that'd be even quicker. And I think Maine's going to have a struggle to keep his place there because Tielemans is going to be probably playing a lot of games because we know Michael Carrick likes experience. And I think at the moment, then I don't know, Al, that if Man United sign Buwadi, I think you're making a situation where like no one's guaranteed first team football, first team minutes, are they? Yeah, looking at that, Ryan, I wouldn't be surprised. I say Chelsea got kids worked out. I say sorry, Chelsea got young signings. Yes, they worked out they need some experience, and now we can't keep getting young all the time. The squad depth needs improvement, says Andy. Do you get the feeling that you do need to do the problem? Maybe the biggest problem is Manchester United have had Glazer ownership for 2 decades, and the squad depth, the squad, whatever you want to call it, however you want to explain it, the the squad construction in terms of like youth experience, etc. It was a complete shambles, and some of the players Man United had, who fans were expecting to be at the club for longer. Probably people like Rashford or Sancho or Anthony, all the players we bought that we thought, okay, by this time they're going to be hitting their prime. Most of those players have been moved out because they weren't good enough, and I think unfortunately they come into a situation now where the most experienced players, like Christian Eriksen left a year ago, Lindelof left, Maguire was kind of like forced to stay by giving him a new contract. Dalot, Luke Shaw, etc. All these players are staying a bit beyond the amount of time we want them to stay, and it looks a bit like Gaz is saying. I mean, the plan looks about as stable as Mason Mount, like in terms of like the plan's crumbling quicker than Mason Mount's getting injured, and that if we're going to have a plan where Mason Mount is going to be expected to play like 40 games plus next season, that's not going to happen. So, do you remember last season when we had it got to January, there were no deals. Lots of Man United fans, like I was pretty pissed off because I thought we should get some players in January to give Michael Carrick the best possible chance. And we didn't get any signings done in January. And I think the message after that was Ineos feel like the club had got enough to for the rest of the season. And I was thinking, right, okay, that's a bit of a gamble. And luckily it worked out, but it was still an unnecessary gamble, I feel. And are they going to be doing the same sort of thing this season where they go, actually, we've probably got enough cover. We've got Mason Mount, we've got Luke Shaw, we've got Dallo can play left back, so can Mazraoui. And look, all these players like Yoro's been tried at right back. Is Yoro playing right back in pre-season? An idea to see, right, let's put Yoro at right back, and then we got Dallo or Mazraoui can play left back and have cover there. So I don't know. It does feel a little bit like Man United have got maybe two or three players fewer than we need, and we're kind of hoping on certain players can play multiple positions. Like, are we looking at Rashford playing as a striker and Buemo Acuna playing as a striker because Benjamin Sesko also has an injury issue as well? And I get the feeling that this we're doing things on a cut price budget, I feel, and that's the frustrating thing I've got. But Andy makes a sensible point, though. I mean, the squad balance was a bit wrong. So if you're going to keep signing players that are young, you do have to get some experienced players along the way. And you did have to replace Casemiro's experience. So I think getting Tielemans in was a decent option. But I think now we've got Tielemans, I don't think we need to go and get another older midfielder. Like it wouldn't make a lot of sense for me. And United Die says, how do you go into the season with one of the most important midfield changes in our recent history? Pick Tillemans, who's 29, and Santos, who doesn't play regular minutes. The the only thing can be, I think was always going to be. I think no, I think Santos is not a panic buy. I think Santos was scouted for at least a year. They tried to get him a year ago, but we saw the stories that were discussed. Chelsea wouldn't let him go. But with Tillemans, I think Tillemans has gone to Man United and said, uh, I'm available. This is my release clause, and pretty much chosen like Man United as a club. And Man United, being not the most organised club, have probably just gone, yeah, sure, that's fine because Edison has just failed his medical. So at this transfer window at the moment, Man United have effectively done hardly anything. Like Santos was something they looked at a year ago, and I think Tillemans was just available at a cheap price. But in terms of like the deals that we're seeing, potentially Liverpool might be spending 130 on Barcola. We've seen Chelsea drop huge money on Rodgers. Diamonde, he went for big money as well, and all the players leaving Newcastle. Man United are the only team that actually aren't doing a big deal. Like even Arsenal now have got like 75 million for Bruno Guimaraes. So crazy. No, maybe we need another idea like the summer window because the summer window is becoming like it's becoming like Man United do two deals early on, then there's a month of inactivity, and then this is what I'm not even joking. I think Man United will sign some players, but I think it's going to be unpredictable panic buys yet again. So if Sanderberg gets signed, then as a fan, right, I'll back Sanderberg and go, right, I'll hope it works out really well. But why didn't we do this deal several years ago? Like, and I know we didn't have the same people in charge, which is probably the main reason, but it does feel a bit frustrating, doesn't it? Like, it feels like Man United are, I don't know, trying to do 2022 transfer window 4 years too late, and this is what we're looking at the moment. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to like 2035 when we get Elliot Anderson, however old he is then, when City decide that he's like done all he can and has got some injury issues. Um, Nikki says, why aren't they going for Kone? So I think that in terms of this, I don't know if it's true, but somebody posted yesterday in the chat and said that that Kone was going to cost more than people thought. So I don't know if it's true, but somebody said that maybe they wanted like closer to like 75, 80 million for Kone. I wouldn't be surprised because it did seem that Kone was supposed to be quite cheap. And what we're seeing now is I think all transfers are just getting more expensive. So I think this is the reason, Nikki, it's probably price. And I would say this, if you see any players linked to Man United that seem like a good deal, and Man United did not sign them, there's only two reasons. One is going to be Man United don't want to pay the price. The second is going to be that the player we're looking at just has a better option, and it's going to be as simple as that, I think. So Man United are not going to be prepared to outspend other teams or fight for players we want to get. That's for me is the biggest disappointment. When Spurs show more ambition than Man United, I think we've got some serious problems. And then this as well, Al. I mean, you're factually correct, Al. This is making this is making it more annoying as well. Hayden Hackney, 16.5 million. Urilenki, 23 million. The Cat, 15 million. The thing is that there's cheap deals out there that you could do these deals, and the question mark is going to be if something happens at the end of the window and we can go, okay, it all makes sense. Because at the moment, it feels a bit like a Dickensian novel where nothing makes sense and you're just wondering if it's going to tie together at the end. At the moment, the transfer window doesn't make a lot of sense. But is there a transfer that could tie things together? Like a Alex Scott was a hopeful one, or maybe Boadi's a hopeful one. I mean, either way, I don't want to have a situation where we look at it and go, is Michael Carrick going to have a problem? Andy says, thing is, we don't know who we're looking at. Do we say it's all agents and paper talk? Do you think is this going to be the one window where, if you look at the players we signed, then do you remember how trying to think what it was? I remember like the Tillemans deal, Manchester United with Tillemans. I don't think I saw anything until David Ornstein said Manchester United are seriously advancing for Tillemans, and then I think I started setting up a thumbnail, and it pretty much 2 hours later it was Tillemans. Here we go, done deal, and that was very very rapid. I'm trying to think with the Santos one as well. I think we got that story about 2 days before it happened. Like there was a story about Santos about costing £50 million, and I think we talked about that about 2 days before that happened. But everything else, in terms of this, then it was like quite rapid. So that's why I know obviously I'm pretty negative about what's happening. But is there going to be a chance that we do see some suddenly out of nowhere, some information comes to light, and suddenly Man United do some deals. I mean, it could happen. It would just feel a bit crazy to sit here and go, "Don't worry, guys, we're getting too many. It's all getting there." Because I think people that are saying that are definitely not helping because they don't know what's going to go on either. And it's the one time as well where some good sources last year have not had a clue, and unfortunately, it's made it more difficult when you're trying to do any sort of content creation because the information out there is pretty negligible. And if you do see people on other YouTube channels telling you things that are definitely going to happen, like they don't know either. It's crazy. Um, that's Yeah, no. So sometimes it depends, Stephanie. Sometimes people use laughing as a coping mechanism. Sometimes people jump in the comments of a YouTube channel and just like get angry. But it's fine. It's fine. I mean, if anyone's got any questions about what we're talking about, please get them in. It's not going to be the longest stream today, but I thought I'd cover a few options. I think in terms of my prediction for the window, I think Man United are going to sign a left back. I think we're going to be signing another midfielder. I mean, we should be, and hopefully we're going to be. If we don't get a backup striker, I'll be a bit concerned. So I would say if we got three more signings in, I would look at it and go, okay, right, they're not necessarily the players I wanted, but it kind of makes a little bit of sense as well. Yeah. So yeah, I think with this one as well, that I'm expecting that they're not going to be that they shouldn't be that straightforward because teams come up from up to the Premier League, they're going to be wanting to try and get some points on the board. But if Man United can't beat the teams in the opening games, Stephanie, then I think there's going to be I don't know. Do you remember last season when Man United started quite badly? But it doesn't take long for negativity to creep in. In the same way, if Man United beat Hull and beat Ipswich and score a load of goals, and we look like we did maybe when Carrick took over, people will. What I say? I think people will be quite optimistic. Like people, like Man United fans, do change their minds pretty quickly. I feel. Do you think Ineos will be looking for a trophy this season? In my opinion, they haven't won anything yet, and so the FA Cup has nothing to do with them. I'm trying to think actually, the FA Cup win we got. Trying to think at the time because Ineos hadn't been in very long, had they? So there may be if you. I think with Ineos, it would be important to try and get a trophy with, like say, Sesko and Buemo, Cunha, Santos, Tielemans. If these players are involved in getting like an FA Cup or League Cup, then I think that would be important. Like for Ineos, like I think the benchmark's got to be, the benchmark has to be winning silverware, doesn't it? That has to be what we're looking for. And I think getting third in the league, if you can get third in the Premier League, that tells me you're good enough to try and win a domestic trophy. Like the players are good enough to finish third in the league. They're good enough to beat City, Arsenal, Liverpool, a one-off game. They should target a trophy. I'd imagine actually as well. I'm pretty sure Michael Carrick would probably sacrifice a little bit in other competitions to win a domestic cup as well. So if you're looking at FA Cup and you get to the semi-final, quarter-final stage, I think Man United have got to take that competition very seriously because it does then show that I think most of the time in the last few years, I know cups. People say people don't take cups that seriously. I think you don't see too many mid-table clubs lifting the big trophies normally. So no, I think that would be like a minimum. United Dice has turned into a cup team. I think the question was going to be, would they be looking to win that? I think for Michael Carrick, one of the things that people will compare Michael Carrick to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and one of the big criticisms of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was he didn't manage to get over the line. Europa League final, FA Cup, etc. Just getting to like semi-finals and finals, but not winning a trophy. So I think that it would be quite important. I mean, Arteta managed to survive 5 years with no trophies after winning a very early FA Cup. So it might give him a bit more time in people's minds. If Man United can look quite good in the Premier League, do okay in the Champions League, and win a domestic cup, I think that would be considered at least some progress. But you have to start accumulating more points over the season as well. But I do think that this would be something like for Michael Carrick and the new players that you always want to get a trophy in, don't you? Um, Stephanie said, "No, we don't normally, do we? But the fixture list this season has definitely given Man United an opportunity to hit the ground running. I feel like that we've been looking at the fixtures, say, yet last season, and they were very difficult, and they proved to be like not easy to pick up points. So I think this season, with the draw being a bit kinder to Man United, I think Man United should be looking to try and pick up more points. Like if we start the season slow, as soon as we start playing the harder teams, it's going to be quite difficult, isn't it? But I think this could be something to like build a bit of momentum. I mean, I'm still not hopeful that Man United are going to
start
be
playing the harder
suddenly
teams.
throwing money at the team, but and if Man United do badly in the first few games, I can't see Man United actually spending big money to try and improve that. Do I think? To be honest, Al, I think the average YouTube channel could do a better job at scouting and recruitment. The issue is going to be, though, I suppose, that the players we look at, we don't know whether they'd actually choose Man United. So I can sit here and say, get Bawardi in, but Bawardi might not want to come to Man United. And I could also say, we should sign Elliot Anderson, but Elliot Anderson might not want to come. The only thing we could have done differently is we could have got Matheus Fernandes, like we could have got that deal done if we'd have spent slightly more. And I feel like we could have got, we could definitely have got we could have got who else was there? If you wanted to get Shay Charles or you wanted to get Hayden Hackney, you could have got those deals done. So we could have done a cheaper deal than we have done and got Hayden Hackney in, and we could have then spent a bit more money on potentially Matheus Fernandes, which maybe that would have been a better option. But again, so I think we could have done a few things differently. And yeah, can you actually, if you let Michael Carrick choose the players he wants to construct a midfield from, given that he played with some elite world class players, I think he could do a pretty good job. Does spending a fortune mean? I would say this, Andy, like spending big is no guarantee. Liverpool last season, the point in question, but I think spending sensibly, like Man United did a year ago, and Buemo, Cunha, Lamon, Sesko. I think if we did like say we did four good deals last season, if we did like another couple of deals where you look at it and go, actually they're quite good deals, then it doesn't guarantee you success, but it's hard to fail if you spend on the right players. But I think United at the moment we've just got a lot of issues as well. I'm not going to mention. Is Fernandez really all that? I think in terms of like Fernandez, he looks like he's got a lot of promise. I mean, Man United were prepared to spend about £70 million on him, it seems, and he has cost a lot of money. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. Maybe with Spurs, they've got Tonali, they've got Matheus Fernandes. A lot of people thought that would be our midfield, so we can probably look at Spurs, see how Spurs do, and then use that as a judgment for like call whether whether Man United actually did dodge a bullet or whether we should have definitely um, gone for them. Is Orozco the secret midfielder? I don't know. Some people claim to be very excited by Orozco, but I think you'd have to look at it and say, I think you'd have to look at it and say, no one knows for sure, do they? No one knows if Orozco is going to be an academy player, if he's going to be sold for profit, or what's happening. So I don't know. Sure, Rashford and Bruno. I don't know. I'd imagine like Bruno Fernandes has made a decent amount of appearances, considering he's never injured. But let's see. Rashford's probably made quite a few appearances over his time. It's not going to be Luke Shaw though, is it? Surely. And I say a lot of people calling Goldbridge negative. Is he being negative? I think I'll say with this one. I think people call Goldbridge negative because maybe when Man United were winning last season, he was negative. But at this point in time, Big Dog, Um, there's nothing really positive happening at Manchester United, is there? So a lot of the speculation. I think the biggest problem was that Man United went into this transfer window. There's lists of targets being published, and Man United are saying things like, if there's a player good enough, we'll spend the money. We've got money to spend for Semenyo. We had money to spend for, other players. So I think that there is a lot of negativity around, and he's not wrong. Like I'll say that he's not wrong. There's a lot of negativity around, and Winners of Better says, I think Spurs is Tonali and Fernandez level. We dodged two bullets. So I still think this. I think Man United will finish above Spurs. I know a few people have said, look at Spurs. I think Man United will finish above Spurs. So, and I think we'll finish above Newcastle as well. Yari said, big up to you, Yari. You've heard a few interesting things today. So, what have you heard? United had 200 million in transfer due this summer that needed to be paid, along with FFP to play in the Champions League. I think our window is done. FFP is not a thing anymore, is it? I thought it's been replaced with the squad cost ratio type thing. Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to say. You put it more succinctly than me, Yali, is that Goldbridge is negative when things are going well as when things are going bad. At this point in time, though, then I think that the negativity is, you know, is fine, isn't it? FFP is still a thing for UEFA. Okay. So I think with UEFA, they also have the squad cost ratio thing that's going to be an issue. If anyone's got any final questions, it will be like a shorter stream today because I don't want to keep people waiting or I don't want to instigate anger in frustrated fans either. Um, but Gaz said it's hard to be positive. It is hard to be positive, Gaz. But myself and Weeders are better. We were probably called like two of the most positive people on YouTube. If Kate Cadet was in the comments today, he'd be saying it was like toxic positivity rubbish. But to be honest, we're just not negative people in real life. And we've kind of hit the wall with Man United at the moment. It's just because like it's just frustration, isn't it? Like you can't choose how you feel. You just feel a certain way because of things you see happening. Um, so Almac says, if we have financial issues, I would spend money to poach the executives at Brighton and a good physiotherapy team. I think with this one as well, Al, is that if you're looking at this situation, Man United did get a chief operating officer from Brentford, didn't they? I think at Brighton, I mean Brighton have never really done that well in the Premier League. So I don't know. I don't know. On this one. So I think the thing with this one is you can poach executives, but you still got the owners that are making the decisions. So I think Man United have had good scouts recommending good players, and unfortunately they've been ignored largely. So that's probably the problem, isn't it? It's not that Man United don't have people at the club making good decisions. It's that sometimes the people making good decisions get ignored, and good suggestions, like Ollie made good suggestions, they get ignored. So I think you have to change the people that make the decisions rather than the people that suggest the decisions. Um, okay, no, I don't know him from that far back, to be honest. And Yali says, "Yeah, I'm having a good day overall, Yali. So getting Santos and Tielemans is not good enough, but I won't spend my time going around being upset. We still have a really good team. I think maybe one thing that's probably one thing that people can take home, I suppose, is that Man United finished third last season. We scored a lot more goals. I think Michael Carrick and the coaches are getting the best out of the squad. So I think that's going to happen again next season. They've got longer to work with the team. And this isn't a bit like last season where we're hoping preseason brings us a miracle. We know that Michael Carrick can do a good job, and we know that the player's capable of beating most teams in the Premier League. So I think with this one, that's fine, isn't it? And uh, I would say with this one, Big Dog, then. I think what you're illustrating here is that I don't watch all the channels you're mentioning, but people have different views. And again, I don't know if I'm considered like positive or negative. I think my kind of reaction probably depends on the day. So there's some days where I think when Man United announced they're signing certain players, I'm like quite positive, and results are good, I'm quite positive. But I think overall, like the trajectory of the club, I think at the moment is that whether it's going to be a knock-on effect from a few years of poor ownership, or whether it's Ineos not doing the right sort of moves, there's just a lot of negativity around, and it's hard not to get disappointed when you see other clubs doing, you know, better deals or more aggressive deals. You should have a season predictions show and visit the predictions at the end of the season. That's a good actually. When's the actual start date of the season? Because I will be on holiday later in this month. So what I'll try and do is I'll try and organise it, Al, because that's a good suggestion. I'll try and organise it with a few people on the channel that are regular guests. Maybe we'll try and do a prediction show. If I don't have if I don't have time to organise other people on, what I'll do is I'll do a quick show where I'll have a preseason prediction, and we can basically just put the 20 teams in order of how we think they're going to finish. And so the season starts on the 21st of August. So okay, that's enough time then. So maybe what we should do is like a few days before that. So maybe in about 10 days' time, do a stream because we'll probably know roughly what the squad's going to look like, and then do a preseason prediction based on that. So I kind of do a solo show and we can go through it that way, or we can get a couple of guests on. But I think maybe that's a good idea. And then we can, because YouTube will save it, we can look back at it over the season. It's a bit unfortunate, but on Red Devil United, my prediction for last season was Man United to finish, I think I said like fifth or sixth, like Europa, which I thought would be Europa League. And my prediction for Newcastle was to be dropping a lot. We'd finish above Newcastle, which is a shame because those came off. I don't think I predicted Liverpool falling apart, and I don't think I predicted Arsenal to win the title. I think I said City, but yeah, we'll see. It might be quite good as well. See if I can beat G Wolf in predictions. I mean, when I was talking about Man United last season, I predicted I think actually I've not seen him in the comments for ages, but in the Madness predicted top four as well. And I was thinking that was a bit ambitious, but yeah, he did actually turn out accurate. But no, I would say that yeah, maybe if G was around with a better Helgi, like some of the regular guests, we can do that and see. But it's going to be difficult to try and get everyone's different predictions in the chat. But maybe what we should do is just have like a well, if we do a shorter show, we can keep chat to a minimum and try and just predict it. But yeah, we'll do that one, I think. No one's going to agree on where Man United finish, are they? At this point in time, I still think Man United will finish in the top five, if, but I don't think we'll be closer to winning the title. No, maybe that could be it, Yarly. Maybe we're going to have to be backing an underdog team for a little bit as well. If anyone's got any final questions, though, there might not be a stream tonight because there is very, very little news unless something significant happens. But there will be stream tomorrow, and Manchester United are playing PSG. Myself and Weeders are better. We'll do a calling show. So it will be an opportunity if you want to come in and discuss anything that happens in the match versus PSG. You can also use it as a reason to come in and talk about anything that's annoying you or you're interested in at the club as well. So use it as an opportunity that one as well. Danny B says outside the top six if you don't sign at least two quality players. I don't know. I don't know which teams finish above us. If you think we're going to finish outside the top six, are there six better teams at the moment? I mean, you could say Arsenal, City would be expected to be up there, but I don't know. Aston Villa, are they going to finish above us? I don't think so. I don't know. But when the transfer window's finished, we can look at that. So I did do a poll in the chat, and the question was: are these deals that we're looking at, Sanderberg potentially? Would these be panic buys? And at the moment, do you think Spurs finish above Man United? Okay, that's a big shout over the whole season. I suppose I'd be surprised if we. finish below. I know Spurs and Chelsea don't have European football, but Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs. That's five. So if we're not going to finish in the top six, give me one more team as well. RK says, "Do you think there'll be any last minute transfers?" So I think there will be last minute transfers, but I have no idea who they're going to be, and I have no idea how many. I think there's going to be another couple of signings in the window, but I don't know if they're going to be first team players or they're going to be cheap options or they're going to be some panic buyers or there's going to be like a crazy deal for decent money. So at the moment, there's no information out there, RK. I think we'd be getting a left back. So my guess is going to be, but just keep an eye on like left back targets being linked to Man United. If we don't get a left back, then I think we're going to be doing something where we put Euro at right back and we move right backs into left back position as emergency cover. I think we'll be reshuffling our defence quite a lot next season. But I think we have to get some more players into the squad. Otherwise, Michael Carrick's going to have a massive problem, isn't he? But yeah, I think we're going to have like a classic panic buy, like a classic panic buy. Um, do I think we'll struggle with the Champions League? I don't think we'll struggle with the Champions League either. In a weird way, I think Man United's squad will be absolutely fine in the Champions League because, like Newcastle, don't think Spurs, other teams that have struggled in the Premier League over the last couple of seasons have had no problem with the Champions League. Like we've seen Villa win the Europa League, we've seen Forest do well in that competition, we've seen Crystal Palace do really well in Europe as well. So I don't think Man United will struggle in the Champions League, but I don't think we'll. I don't think we're going to get too close to winning it. I think as soon as we play a big team in the knockout stage, we're going to be gone. But I think getting through the group stage shouldn't be a problem. Like that's my prediction. But um, we will see. Yeah, no worries. If somebody, I did say, if somebody knows who the transfers are, like it'd be a miracle, wouldn't it? Like no one knows that. So no, big up to you. I don't think there's going to be a watch long tomorrow. Mr. G Wolf is away on holiday, so I don't think I've got anyone else that can do a watch long. I'll be doing a live calling show at the end, but I don't think will be a watch long unless someone is interested in doing one. But again, guys, I'm gonna have to head off, wrap up. I said I wouldn't keep you too long, but it has been like almost an hour again. Um, But no, we will do some more streams in terms of like predicting next season, assessing the transfer window. There'll be a couple of things we can do towards the end of maybe mid August onwards. We'll do a couple of those sort of streams. But until then, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you're not a subscriber, this is a good time to just click subscribe, and at least we can like moan as a group rather than getting angry individually and upsetting other people in our families that maybe not football fans. And take care, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.